All right, I can finally talk about Dying Light 2. You guys know, if you've been watching me, I've really been looking forward to this one. I've been playing the hell out of it. It's been a crazy last week or so with the Bungie news, making videos for Game Ranks, binging Pokemon for videos, and now Dying Light 2. I have a lot to say. As you guys probably know, on this channel, what I like to do is focus really on what I like about stuff. Dying Light 2, it's complicated. There's a lot to say about it. A lot of it I touched on in the Game Ranks before you buy video. I'll touch on some of that here, but what I really want to focus on is the stuff I love, because I do ultimately recommend it. The original Dying Light I loved so much. I don't think this one hits quite as hard in terms of it just being such like a breakthrough cool thing, a fresh thing. I still had a hell of a good time, a wild ride. And the way I look at it too is like this world they set up, if they keep going with it like they did with the original game, I'm super in. I'm not going to talk spoilers, don't worry. I'm going to talk about some later game items and stuff, but no story spoilers or anything like that. Because frankly, the story I wasn't into. The story did not hit with me at all. It was a super bummer. A lot of the decision stuff just kind of didn't end up being as cool as it sounded. But I love playing it, and I think Dying Light 2 is such a testament, especially for me, someone who often has to be very critical for my job, very analytical. Dying Light 2 for me has been a breakthrough, really, like a testimony, really, for the power of fun factor, raw fun factor. The whole reason I started doing this, I've talked about this before, but GamePro magazine, when they used to review games, they had a fun factor score. That's the whole reason why, like, it's a lot of my inspiration for the before you buy videos and Game Ranks and just how I talk about games. And Dying Light 2 really solidifies it, because the core gameplay and a lot of the loop is so damn fun that I've looked past a lot of problems. And on a technical front, I think buyer beware still as of right now. There's a day one. I was gonna say a dying one patch, a Dying Light day one patch. So there's a lot of bugs and stuff like that. It's not a cyberpunk thing. Like, it's not this insane thing, but it's a little messy. It's a little undercooked. So many games are now. I think they should have just still waited on this game. There's no rush, guys, but you know, it is what it is. But the moment-to-moment playing and gameplay, it was just like I feel like when I was playing, the sun went up, the sun went down, and I just kept playing, and I forgot to eat and drink just because I got hooked on the loop. There's a lot of open world fluff, but on the other hand, the actual moment-to-moment engagement is always so fun and satisfying, and that is both the combat and the parkour combined with the actual design of the world itself. Villador is an incredible city. Now, the first Dying Light did a really good job of like emphasizing the sense of scale and sense of like depth and detail of a city, and they blow it out of the water here. You can tell this is like what they really specialize in, especially once you get up high and start looking at the city. It's insane. The art direction for it is also really, really cool, because you're always getting all this, none of it makes sense, but you're always getting all this cool stuff. Villador is kind of a vague city. You can't really tell what ethnicity, what country, what continent it really totally is, you know, through the architecture and just a lot of the designs. But then also this like post-apocalyptic grime thrown on all of it just really gives it this lived-in feeling, and that's such like an overused phrase, but here it feels lived in just in terms of like how so many things are piled on top of things, structures on top of skyscrapers, shacks built on top of warehouses, condo apartment complexes with giant markets and farms on top of them. Not to mention the fact that the growth is taking over the world again. It's 15 years or so after an initial viral outbreak and the world ending, so things are kind of shitty, but like every rooftop has trees growing on it, and none of it makes sense, like I said before, where you look in one direction and all these beautiful trees are in bloom. You look in one section, every tree is burned down, and it's like there was like a chemical bombing. You look in another direction, and it's the fall. None of it makes any sense, but it makes for an absolutely beautiful sight. And every time you're running and you're parkouring and you're jumping and you're diving, it's just always so cool to look at, and there's always something to see. There's a lot of repetition in the environments on the inside. There's a lot of like shit that you just kind of continue to see, but it didn't really bother me just because I was always gunning for making my character better and stronger. And now, stop me if you heard this in the Game Ranks video, but I just really like the progression loop here. There's 2 skill trees. There's a parkour one and there's a combat one, and every single thing you unlock is really necessary and useful and shakes up the game. And like it starts off very simple. You're just a running, jumping guy, and it gets more and more complex. Now, the combat at first might seem kind of underwhelming because it's just ha, 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 or like a heavy attack and jumping and blocking and like a little bit of like a stun parry block type thing. That's really it. But the more moves they add on top, and if you can remember all of them and remember all the tools you have at your disposal, it can make for some pretty insane encounters and just make things feel really complex and slick. It can also be super messy just because, you know, it's a very fast-paced game, but like I definitely recommend if you're jumping into it, I would say put it up to hard. There's something about like grappling hooking to doing a wall run to doing a somersault and landing down on a dude and ground pounding him and throwing a knife at another dude's face and then maybe throwing a trap and letting zombies come and then screw up their shit even more. There's just so much like kind of sandbox chaos you can kind of create, and some games I really bounce off of that. I'm like, no, I don't want to come up with my own fun. Give me the fun. Dying Light does it in a way that totally works for me, and that really makes me want to mess around with it. Of course, the developers came out and they were like, Dying Light 2 is 500 hours. 500 hours is really to see every single outcome and like the decisions you make. So you're gonna have to replay the game multiple times, and it's to cover every square inch of the game. And there is a lot of just that open world stuff, check the boxes off, which I very often rally against. I'm not super into, but I think it's a lot of it is just the on the ground thing. You are very on the ground here and traveling on foot, so everything feels a little bit more tangible, substantial. I think that coupled with the fact that like, you know, if okay, like take over another tower, take over another base, I think it's paced really well where every time I did end up going to do one, I ended up having a cool new gadget or a cool new parkour move that just made me want to go in there and try it out and mess around a lot. And then pacing wise, I think too, it does a good job with the single player story stuff. The story in the first one, you know, but this one tries really hard. It shoots for the moon, but it doesn't really, none of it really feels cohesive. It definitely feels like it almost feels like one of those movies where, you know, the studio interfered or they had so many reshoots where it's just so disjointed and things don't make sense and characters just show up. It feels kind of like that for me, and I just didn't really get attached to any character or anything like that. No offense to Rosario Dawson, who is featured very heavily in the game. She has some okay moments, but I don't know, like if I want to see Rosario Dawson, like I'm talking like it better be Clerks 2 or Ahsoka, which like Clerks 2, nobody talks about Clerks 2. Clerks 2 was pretty good. But there's also something, to go back to the combat where I said it starts simple, at its like just the goriness, the impact, the feel of it, you know, and just kind of like the squaring off, whether it's a zombie or a human, reminds me of Condemned Criminal Origins, which was one of the cooler Xbox 360 launch games. It was grimy, it was gross, it was brutal. It's still like one of my favorite games ever. Really cool horror stuff going on there. This feels like that. And I guess you could say that about the first one too, but you know, just for conversation's sake. And again, there are some things, it does some weird things in the story sometimes, like it'll put you in a weird encounter, it'll put you in a spooky area. It kind of always at least is giving you something a little bit new there, where, you know, you might think like this, all the side stuff is just kind of a little bit rinse and repeat. There are some cool encounters and some cool moments in the story, especially like cinematic wise. There are some really big moments like where you're like climbing a summit, or like a really, really entertaining chase that really blew me away, especially because visually, I think it looks great, you know, when it's performing well. But also the music and the atmosphere here, the music's all over the place. And I don't mind it. The music has a bunch of identities. A lot of the music reminds me of like old kind of like Blade Runner, like Terminator 1, John Carpenter, Halloween synth type stuff, mixed with a little bit of like cinematic action movie. Think like from the original Matrix, like think of some of the more orchestral themes. Like it's a lot, and it dumps a lot on, but it really works. It's pretty thrilling, especially once you're doing crazy over the top shit like parachuting over a city or running from like a big creature, you know, it just hits. Not to mention, like, I didn't even touch on like the fact that it still has the thrill that the first game had, that loop of going out at night where things are more dangerous and more scary. It definitely still has that. It's not quite as like, wow, oh my God, as a concept as the first game. Like they don't expand upon it too much. But once you get to like the higher level, like, so the chase is, it's almost like a wanted level. Like if you alert the zombies, they start chasing you even more. And once you get up to like the third level, like dudes are just like falling out of windows, jumping off of fire escapes, climbing out of manhole covers, like busting out, chasing you as you're running. And it's like cinematic and really cool. And especially early in the game, when you're running and you don't really have the craziest stamina or the craziest like jump length or grip strength, you might find yourself like trying to make a jump like Nathan Drake style and catch that ledge with one hand and realize you fucked it, and he lets go and you fall and you hit the street and you didn't turn your flashlight on yet and you just hear zombies everywhere and you go, oh shit. That's a good moment. That's some good, tense, sweaty, butt cheek moments it's good video games. I know I'm saying a lot. I had a Red Bull and a Dr. Pepper back to back, but it's a world I really enjoyed experiencing, and I'm still gonna go in to mess around and do stuff. I found myself half liking the side quests. A lot of the story stuff in the side quests I didn't like, but some of the side quests are pretty involved. At least they're multi-tiered. They give you a couple of things to do, which is nice. So there's even more time I can spend in this world. I did find myself kind of actually getting distracted from the story quests because I wanted to just go around and run and jump and kill and make my character cooler. Get a weird new helmet or like a cool jacket, but also get those abilities, that skill tree progression, as simple as it is, how interwoven every single unlock is to the gameplay, just works. I don't have a ton of time to touch upon, but like also it's kind of unlocking or saving certain buildings that have resources and then deciding which faction to give it to isn't really like a big stressful decision. There's no like, you can't piss anyone off. It really just gives you different things in the environment. The added parkour things in the environment are really cool, like trampolines and more zip lines and stuff. So like where at one point you might do a cool wall run and then just hope to land somewhere. With you unlocking certain things, you might have a cool wall run that then will suddenly conveniently land on a trampoline, and then you can bounce up and jump onto another building. Like, it just streamlines things in a really cool way. And again, it adds to what I said at the start to kind of come back around, a lived-in world, but feels like a lived-in, kind of designed, intricate, laid out, like American Ninja Warrior course, you know? Like when you get a good line going, especially some of the more challenging stuff, or when you pull off something that it doesn't seem like the course or the area was really designed for you to do, and you still manage to do it, and you don't break the game and it doesn't crash, which can happen. It has happened to me. But like when you really pull off something slick that you didn't intend or the game didn't intend, it's dope. So my critical brain still has issues. Like the story decision stuff was okay. The actual faction decision type of stuff didn't really do it for me. There is a lot of repeated stuff, and I could find some people getting it repetitive. But like open world games, some hit for you, some don't. For me, I've bounced off of the Assassin's Creed games recently because I'm like, I don't want to do all that stuff. But then here in Dying Light, I have a list of other things to do, and I go, oh, I do want to do that because I like getting around, and I like murdering people in this game. I don't know what to say, but I do recommend it if you like the first game. If you like the first game and you also play games from developers that like aren't technically, I guess, classified in AAA, but still clearly have a shit ton budget, but like this game isn't going to be like this like complete watertight Sony PlayStation exclusive type thing. Like it's got some rough edges. It's clearly a video game. It's got some goofiness and some messiness. But for me, sometimes that's part of the charm, especially if it's nothing broken. I like it. I think it's good. I do think like now that I've put out the before you buy, and like I've read a couple of other reviews, I think I do like it a bit more than some reviewers. For me, it's kind of like I don't do numbers, scores, but for me, it just feels like a solid 8.5, 8 out of 10. I don't know. This is why I don't do scores. Numbers are stupid. But I'm really talking myself in circles, and I'm really getting sweaty here. I got to go back to work to play the next game. Guess what it is? You can probably guess what it is, but back to the grind. So I want to hear from you guys. This is coming out right before the game comes out, but I want to know how you're feeling on this, man. Let me know what you think about the first Dying Light. I should really revisit that and make a video, but maybe one day. Let me know what you're thinking about Dying Light 2. Let me know what you're expecting. Let me know if you've read some reviews and you've made up your mind and now you're never going to touch the game because you think it's the worst game ever made because you read that it got a 7 out of 10. People do that. People are crazy. Do what you want, vote with your wallet, but that's how I feel about this game. Just a big, long, rambling tangent. Thank you for watching and sitting, so many Dying Light videos. Thank you for clicking on mine, my hot mess. If you did like it, clicking the like button helps. Thank you very much. But I'm Jake Baldino. Thank you guys for being here. Subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me.